Hello everybody. I'm here to present on stress management, and thank you for those that are joining this presentation. So I wanted to be able to provide some strategies for all of us as we're going through this difficult time within the world. So I'm going to talk on stress. I'm going to talk on stress management, as well as one of the projects that I've been working on with the sensory compounding workbook. So this is being recorded through Zoom. So if anyone wants to access that, you can certainly do that through my YouTube channel, the sensory compounding workbook. So I'll tell you a little bit about myself. My name is April, and I'm a registered psychologist, and I work in the Edmonton area, providing support for individuals that are experiencing anxiety or trauma. So today we're going to talk about stress. We're going to talk about the symptoms of stress. We're going to talk about strategies to reduce stress, and as well as an alternative stress reduction strategy that I've created called the Sensory Compounding Workbook. Now, one of the things that I do want to mention to all of you is that always consult with a health professional or a physician, okay? I am a psychologist, I can diagnose, but I think it's very important when you're experiencing any of these symptoms that we're going to be talking about that you do consult with your health professional. The other thing too is be careful with Googling your symptoms, because sometimes that can create more stress for you. So first things first. So if you have access to a marker, pen, a pencil, or some paper, I'd like you to identify 3 stressors that you'd like to learn how to manage. Now, of course, we know with the situation today in our world, we're basically bombarded with stress all around us. Many of us having to stay in self-isolation. We have to not work, basically, or we're working out of the home. So that's another stressor. So if you could identify 3 things that you'd like to work on today, that would be great. So the other part of the paper, I'd like you to also draw a picture of yourself under stress and a picture of yourself not under stress. Okay. So what is stress? Well, stress is the body's automatic response to any physical or mental demand placed on it. And when we talk about stress, and many of you have probably heard about or what we call the fight or flight response. And what is that? That's our body's natural defense, whether it's real or whether it's imagined. That is that defense of where our body automatically flushes hormones, well, such as cortisol, to confront that perceived threat. So we find that we actually get this extra boost of energy to be able to deal with the stressful event that we are experiencing. So we're going to talk about 3 types of stress. So the first type of stress is called acute stress or short-term stress. Now, this is one of the most common forms of stress that all of us experience. And it comes from the regular demands or pressures of the recent past or anticipated demands of pressures for the near future. And this is also called what is called a thought-induced stress. So what I mean by that is, so if you have a thought or an idea that, oh, I have to complete this, and then you start to feel the stress around it, as soon as that thought is gone, the stress is gone. So that is acute stress or short-term stress, and that's identified by our thoughts. So once we don't think that about doing that anticipated event, then the stress is gone. So some of the symptoms around acute stress or short-term stress are irritability, tension, headaches, back pain, neck pain, gut problems, heart palpitations, dizziness, shortness of breath, elevated blood pressure, or sleep issues. The second type of stress is called episodic acute stress. So this is the same in terms of the symptoms that I've described with the acute stress, but this is more of a frequent level of stress. So people who are frequently experiencing acute stress are experiencing it more frequently. So it almost becomes a lifestyle. So you are living in a point of crisis. And you can usually tell when this episodic acute stress is happening is when we often tend to be in a rush, or we tend to feel very pressured. So the exact same symptoms that I described with the acute stress, but in addition, you could experience feeling very short-tempered, some elements of anxiety or depression. You could have irritable bowel syndrome. There's also that experiencing maybe of a deterioration in your relationships. You could also experience frequent colds, flus, or allergies that affect the immune system. And it's so important right now that we have these strategies in place for us because of what we're all experiencing. And we want to maintain our immune system during this difficult time. So some of the things that I've been doing to maintain my immune system is taking vitamin C, taking calcium, getting some exercise, eating healthy, those types of things. And finally, the third type of stress is what we call chronic stress. Now, chronic stress is a grinding stress, and this wears away at a person day after day. And if it's not dealt with, or if it's not treated, this can actually lead to a deterioration of your physical and your mental health. So again, the symptoms are the same as I've described, like the two other stresses, but this is a bit more serious because there could be feelings of hopelessness, and also to the point of where it could lead to harmful behaviors or destructive behaviors to self or to others. So that's the three types of stress, and those three types of stress were identified by Mueller and Dell. So the other question is, people have asked me as well, is all stress bad? And no, it's not. Moderate levels of stress can actually improve your performance and efficiency. Too little stress can actually result in boredom, and too much stress may cause an unproductive anxiety level. So you really have to learn to be able to balance and manage your stress. And we're going to talk about some strategies today to be able to do that. So when we talk about identifying stressors, so it's really important to understand what causes you stress. And as I mentioned when we started, was of course one of the biggest stressful issues right now is what's happening in the world. So other things could be related to school. We know that a lot of our kids are staying home right now, and they're doing school online for work. A lot of us are working from home, or many of us are not working, which is a huge stressor. Family stressors, this can impact relationships. There's legal stress, finance, and again, health and illness, environment, and living situations. So I guess we can categorize most of those, what we're experiencing right now with this pandemic around the world. So what are some of the negative effects of stress? And before we get into some of the strategies, I'm going to mention a few of the negative effects. So people can actually gain weight, or they can lose weight. You'll have unexpected hair loss, heart palpitations, high blood pressure. There'll be emotional swings. Anxiety can lead to depression. And many times people look at unhealthy coping strategies such as alcohol or drug use. Man, I can just feel that energy right there. So this is pretty heavy as we're talking about it. But we're going to go into a more lighter energy right now, and we're going to look at an action plan. So not only do you need to know what causes you stress, you need to be able to understand when you are under stress. So I want you to think about this statement. When I get stressed, my mind goes what? And I feel what in my body? So it's very important to recognize and pay attention to those aspects of what's going on in your mind and what's going on in your body, because they're so connected in terms of being able to deal with your stress. And if you can identify for yourself in terms of what am I thinking, what are those thoughts that are going on in my mind, how is my mind feeling right now, and understanding what's going on in my body. Am I having heart palpitations? Am I feeling nervous? What is going on? And that's the biggest piece in terms of understanding, is identifying what's going on in both your mind and your body. Now, as we look at this statement, and I asked you when we started off the workshop to look at yourself drawing. Look at yourself before, when you're not stressed, and then when you are stressed. And when you look at the drawing of when you are stressed, what went on in your mind and what is your body doing? It's very important as we talk about some of the stress management strategies. So I also want to mention, before we talk about the strategies, what are some of the strengths that you already possess? So let's not forget that you already have some stress management ability that you possess right now. So what things are you doing right now that's working, that's managing your stress? What advice would you give to someone about how to do this? And are there people in your life that help you manage stress? So there are four strategies that we're going to talk about right now for managing stress. The first one is the outlook skills. The second is self-care. The third is lifestyle management. And the fourth is relationship strategies. So I have identified these stress management strategies into four types of skills. So the first one is outlook skills. So what do I mean by that? When I talk about outlook skills, I'm talking about changing your perceptions and expectations. And this is an area too, in my practice when I work with folks that have issues around anxiety or high levels of stress, we talk about what's called reframing. So when something happens to us, we really get wrapped up into it emotionally. But if we can look at this situation and reframe it, and what I mean by that is looking at it from a positive perception. How has this actually helped me? And think of the positives and draw out those positives. It's very, very helpful when you're looking at it through changing your perception and your expectation. The other outlook skill is to practice gratitude and forgiveness. And actually, studies have shown that practicing gratitude has a positive effect on emotions. So we automatically feel better when we do practice gratitude. What are we grateful for? What are we grateful right now? And I think about what we're experiencing in the world right now, the gratitude around actually being able to spend time with family. Yes, there are additional stressors that are attached to that. But if we can reframe it and we can look at it from the perspective of, I haven't been able to spend time with my family, but now I have this opportunity to do those things with my kids or my family members that I haven't been able to do in the past. And so when you can reframe that and think about that in that way, that's very helpful in managing your stress. So with gratitude, write down 3 things that you're grateful for. That's another way to change this outlook for yourself. What am I grateful for right now? What do I have in my life that I'm very grateful for? And also with forgiveness, this is a huge one. There's strength in forgiveness. And you can actually set up what's called a letting go practice, meaning that if something happens to you where you feel quite angry about it, what you can do is you can take 3 deep breaths, and on those deep breaths, when you're inhaling through your nose, you're inhaling that practice of forgiveness. And when you're exhaling whatever emotion you're feeling, whether it's anger or hurt, and exhale that. So you're inhaling forgiveness and you're exhaling hurt or anger. So another outlook skill is to break jobs or tasks into manageable parts. Many times we feel overwhelmed. We take on so many things that we need to be able to break these into jobs or tasks so that they're more manageable for us. And that applies to setting reasonable or realistic goals. What can we do right now in our life that's realistic, considering what we're experiencing within the world? There's so many limitations right now that are causing difficulties for a lot of us. But what can we do right now that is reasonable and realistic, that is going to lessen that stress for us? The other one is to avoid procrastination. And finally, to schedule some me time. Those are the outlook skills. So what about the self-care skills? Well, I'm sure many of you are doing this right now. We're looking at breathing techniques. We just did one, imagery exercises, and we're going to actually have an imagery exercise today that we're going to engage in. Muscle relaxation. So a lot of times when clients do come to me, we talk about what's called progressive muscle relaxation. And it's very interesting practice because what it does is it actually takes your mind off of the stress or the issue that you're facing at the moment. So what I mean by progressive muscle relaxation is, so for example, you start right, and we'll start at our toes where we can just tighten our toes. And so if you guys want to do that right now, you can with me. You tighten just your toes, and then you relax. And then you move up to your calves, you tighten just your calves, and then you relax. And then you move up to your quads, you tighten your quads, and then you relax. And then you move all the way up to your body, and then you can move all the way down again. And in that time, I guarantee you would not be thinking about your stress or what's been happening. You'd be focusing, what you've done is refocused your attention on relaxing your muscles. And it's very, very helpful practice for self-care. Another one is prayer or meditation, depending upon what your beliefs are. And finally, another self-care skill is a warm bath. Take a warm bath. It does wonders. When you have some essential oils or a bath bomb and candles, it really creates a mood and an ambience of relaxation. And that's very helpful in managing stress. So the other skill is the lifestyle skill. So physical exercise or yoga, walking or running, sleep. And a lot of people question me, what do you mean sleep? Well, sleep is actually very helpful for reducing stress. Many of us don't get enough sleep, or what happens is that we become so stressed out that our sleep is affected. But sleep is very important. It's very healing for our body. And if we can get sleep during this difficult time, it's going to rejuvenate us. And there are many things you can do to increase your levels of sleep. You can have relaxing music, and you can find a lot of great music that's downloadable that you can listen to, that as you're breathing to it, it actually calms you. You can use that before bed, or you can use a number of different other things that I do talk about in my workbook that are very helpful with sleep. Journaling is another one. With journaling, write down something that you enjoy to do. And that's very helpful. What do you find that's grateful? And many people have talked about, well, I keep a gratitude journal, and I'm very thankful of, even though what is happening right now, I can be grateful for what I do have in my life. And a gratitude journal is very helpful. Identify one of your own strengths. And when I talk about strengths, I talk about such things as creativity. Are you creative? Do something that's creative. You can see behind me, I paint. So that's one of the things that I've been able to do to reduce my own stress, is to do some painting, because I feel that I'm very creative and I want to be able to express it. What about another strength is many people can be very kind and loving. Other people have strengths such as curiosity. They want to find out more about information, and we have access to that through the internet. What about critical thinking is another stress. The suggestion is, watch a program with an opposing view and ask yourself to clarify those questions and keep an open mind. So many of us have different strengths that we can pull together and continue to use those during this time of stress. And the other thing is reach out for counseling if you need it. I think one of the biggest things is the stigma around mental health. And just know that if you're experiencing any of the symptoms that we've talked about, that you're not the only one that is experiencing them, especially in today's world and what's happening. We're all experiencing stress. Even the people like me that talk about stress management, I experience stress as well. But it doesn't hurt to help to talk to somebody about what you're going through. And sometimes having that person to provide another perspective or opinion on it is very helpful for us. And finally, the last skill is around relationship skills. So the biggest one is the relationship with yourself, spending time with you. Many of you do have families, so that's kind of tough when you've got little ones in the home, and I understand that. Usually when everybody's in bed, I've talked to clients about being able to spend some time in meditation. When everyone's in bed, you can identify a quiet time to be able to do that. Spending time with family, spending time with pets, watching funny movies, and we know that laughter is one of the best medicine for us, so go ahead and do that. The other thing with relationship skills is setting boundaries in your relationships, and that's huge. We need to be able to set those boundaries so that we have a better quality of life, and it's very important to be able to do that. The other thing is don't compromise your beliefs or your values. So research has shown that people who think about their highest values before a stressful event experience less stress. And when I talk about values, I talk about principles of standards or behaviors. All right. So those are some of the strategies that I wanted to identify for you. The other thing that I wanted to just mention today is that I have written a workbook, and it is called the Sensory Compounding Workbook. And I do have it available on my website, and you'd be able to see it. And it's a very easy to read, easy to use, educational and helpful workbook. And as I'm recording this on Zoom, as I said, people can access this through my YouTube channel. It identifies a little bit about my workbook, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. But what I wanted to do for you guys today is go through a sensory visualization. And what we're going to do, and this is part of the workbook as well, and I thought we'd be able to have an opportunity to do this. So as you are sitting and listening, if you're okay, I'd like you to be able to just close your eyes. And I'm going to walk you through a sensory visualization with me. So as your eyes are closed, I'm going to ask you to take a nice deep breath in through your nose and then out through your mouth. And I'll get you to do that one more time. In through your nose and out through your mouth. Good. Now as you're relaxing, I'm going to ask you to let your shoulders just fall towards gravity. Good. And if you're sitting in a chair or on the couch, just feel your body relax into the chair or the couch. Wonderful. So now in your mind, I'm going to ask you to visualize a door in front of you. Now this is a door of any color that you want it to be. And now I'm going to ask you to reach out And as you grab the handle of the door, you're going to feel the coolness of the doorknob. And as you open it, good, you're going to take a step out and you come to the outdoors. Good. So now as you're outside, you're going to start to feel the warmth of the sun on your skin. And you're going to feel the breeze as well over your skin. So you're getting two sensory experiences right there with touch. And at the same time, as you're experiencing the touch senses, you're looking around you and you're seeing the beautiful nature. You're seeing the grass and the trees. Maybe you're seeing a waterfall. Or maybe this is a place that you've been to before. A place that you'd like to go to again. Now you're seeing all of this with your sight. Good. Now I'm going to ask you to focus on your hearing. What do you hear in this place of peace and comfort? You might hear the birds singing, or you might hear the leaves rustling. What are you hearing in this place? Good. Now taste. Now with taste, what are you tasting? Maybe you're tasting the coffee that you had right before this workshop. And you're focused on that. Or maybe you thought of something that you're going to eat tonight. And the taste is embedded in you, that you're able to feel it, to taste it in your mouth. Now, what about smell? What do you smell in this place? You might smell flowers or grass, or if you're by the ocean, the salt water. And it creates a calmness over you as you experience your senses. Or maybe you smell a popcorn vendor, and that triggers your taste as well, because you can imagine what that popcorn smells like. Now, as you've experienced all of your senses in this visualization, I'm going to ask you to take a nice deep breath in and out. And don't forget that door behind you as you turn around and open the door and you exit out. Now you can open your eyes and come back to where we are. You've experienced a very sensory visualization And the interesting thing with all of our senses, we don't realize how much throughout the day that our body is picking up sensory information. And part of what I've designed with the workbook, the sensory compounding workbook, is helping you to use all of your senses to be able to create a place of peace and calm, and being able to learn how to actually ground yourself in this. So thank you for being a part of that with me. So what are the benefits of stress management? Well, your physical health gets better and you have more energy and stamina. Your emotions create more of a positive attitude. You're more hopeful and happier. And your ability to focus is achieved through being able to manage your stress. And so those are some of the management strategies that I wanted to provide with you. Thank you for listening to this, and I will be actually providing a presentation on sensory compounding and how it can help you with managing stress, and I will let those of you know when I will be doing that again. But I really appreciate your time today, and take care of yourself during this difficult time. Please implement some of those strategies that we've talked about, and I wish you all the best in your journey. So take care. Okay, bye-bye.